You know, I was imagining it.
You were imagining it.
Yeah, I could feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it right earlier as well. Those team fights, we got some legendary calls there with the Maniacs that Yahiko got as well, but we got a comparison for both junglers.
You know, for both these junglers here, I think this is a good way to put it, as we talked about leading into this. Haidan Bush, so far, for a lot of his stats, are more towards, you know, ball potential. And that's why you also saw earlier, the average time for Homeboys was like, what, under 14 minutes, I think it was?
13 minutes compared to 19 minutes for E7. So already there, it's a little bit different. For E7, they really like to go with maybe it's an early game composition, but in the gold lane they play with the weak side gold laner that scales up to the later stage. Meanwhile, for Homeboys, it's been let's fight.
Let's fight. Let's find out. Ho, we are going to be taking a look at a video here to lead us into the draft. Let's see what our reporter has to say.
Guys, मेरे देखना yes guys और बताओ यारो कैसे हो सब लोग बताओ यारो हम लोग दिन में आ गए बस वो बातें क्या जो मायने 3:30 बजे से मतलब 3:30 guys तो देखते हैं क्या होता है वैसे तो मजा आने वाला है क्योंकि बहुत नेक्स्ट
many times, but leading us into this team also, we got the ROG ping test happen here. You gotta just watch as they get to use these amazing phones, the ROG 8 that's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 mobile platform. Asus ROG is the official gaming phone of MSC 2024. And, you know, I've had the chance to go ahead and play on these amazing devices, and I will say that I feel like I get a little bit better, you know, just playing on that ROG phone. And, you know, as we get ready for the draft, I think going back to the point that we were talking about here, man, is the way things are falling into place, jungle-wise, jungle pick-wise, even though, I was saying, we see a lot of Roger, we see a lot of Ling pop up, and those are the assassins right now being locked in, there's still a lot of room for versatility, I think. And so far, what we've seen teams do is pick up at least the Roger early on because it's flexible. So I think it's still the same the previous patch where you always had one pick that could possibly be flexed. You know, if that was flexed into the roam, if that was flexed into XP. I mean, think about when Arlott first came out.
Yep.
He went to like 4 different lanes, you know? So right now with Roger, he's usually picked up and you decide, is it going to the gold lane? Is it going to the jungle? We'll find out though as we jump into the draft here for game number 1 in the best of 5 here for the grand final of the wild card. And so Homeboys will be on this blue side. We got E7 on the red, and we'll have to see too. I think some of the bans that we can expect are still going to be similar. You know, the Luyi, the Chip is banned out. Both of them come through. I'm wondering if teams still want to actually also ban some of the XP lanes, which is funny because so far on the XP lane, man, it's really been just Terizla and Yuzhong being mostly prioritized. Mozkov ban comes out, which even despite the nerf, if you will, from Mozkov, he's still quite devastating in a lot of these lineups.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like a nerf, right? Especially considering, you know, the win rate on this hero. I think it's still sitting at like an 80% win rate despite the changes. And what's surprising is I feel like for the damage, especially in the later stages of the game, once you have that power spike, it makes sense. You kind of expect that from a Mozkov. But what you don't expect is for the Mozkov to actually dominate in these lane matchups. I think it was day 1 where we got to see the Roger versus the Mozkov a couple of times. I think it was S2G versus KBG, and then we had a couple other games with Fury as well on that Mozkov. And the Mozkov, for some reason, was always able to get the lane dominance there. So the fact that it's manned out away from E7, a team that was able to utilize it so many times in Group A to go and get that 3-0 standing, makes sense. The Harith, though, is also a really good ban from E7 towards Nets, but it's kind of different, this Harith.
Yeah.
While we're talking about, you know, Mozkov receiving some of the nerfs, Harith wasn't really, like, nerfed to the ground.
Yeah, to the ground, yeah.
It was just, like, a small little adjustment, but we're seeing Harith right now, at least the wild card, standing at a 0% win rate. That's quite ridiculous, knowing that right before the patch, Harith was the most broken hero in the gold lane. But the Roger follows through as well. We have E7 banning out the Harith, the Chip, and the Roger. And it's a Valentina respect to Chan, someone who's been able to utilize that versatility on the Valentina. So I would say just match up against whatever the opposing mid laner wants to offer. But that's going to be an Edith traded in for the first pick Claude for Homeboys.
Yeah, I think, which is good. It's a good take from E7. They take the Edith. We know that Homeboys likes to play this. A lot of teams do, actually. And, you know, we have this fun fact here for you guys as well. Chan has a 100% win rate as Luyi in 4 games from the MPL Latam Season 1. And it's good that you know, it's banned out at least for this game because we've been wondering how well this Loyi is going to fit into the current meta, the current state of things. And we know that even with the change, even for the diversion, the cooldown on it, you know, you have to be a little more on point. Whoa, this is interesting. The Bane is going to be locked in from E7. You know, we got a glimpse at this before in the past, but now it's a Bane and an Edith locked in here for E7 on that swing back. So, you know, Homeboys wanted the game plan of picking up the Claude, throw it in the gold lane. They saw that the Moskov was already banned. A lot of gold lane options that have popped up. So they've secured themselves the Claude. What else is Homeboys thinking here? Now that they've seen this, Vexana's going to come up. You know, they still have the Minotaur open too. And they go the Ruby instead. Also, great choice here with a lot of CC potential. And really what you have to look out for from Homeboys with this combination is the knock-up from the Eternal Guard with the amount of CC that Ruby brings to the table too. So that's something that E7 is going to want to keep in mind in dealing when they have to consider these skirmishes or team fights.
It'll definitely be the disengage power as well for Homeboys, right? Because technically for E7, they want to be looking for these pickoffs and they want to really try to prolong the team fight. With the Edith as well. The Onward, the Earth Shadow, like we mentioned earlier, and most importantly, that's the Primal Wrath that can actually, like, you know, lock you down, force you into a long team fight. But with the Vexana, with the Ruby, you've set yourself up for a lot of disengage. And whenever E7 want to try to force anything, Homeboys technically get a chance to respond in a way where, all right, we'll either go head-to-head, throw these Eternal Guards, these Terrifies, these Curse Blast, and the I'm Offended, you know, the combos over to fight, or to say, you know what, we won't take this fight, we're going to go for some trades, and then we'll go after the other neutral objectives, or maybe a trade with the Claude. That's what they're expecting now, but it is going to be a Minotaur pickup as well. So Edith plus the Minotaur.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. So that also means that the Edith should be going to the XP lane. That does give Homeboys a lot to play with. Still be flexible.
I don't know if this is too out of the bounds here, but you know, so far I would on cards nothing is. Edith, I'm not sure if they'd actually even flex it into the mid lane. They could actually use it to clear things out. Primal Wrath is pretty devastating as well, depending on how curveball E7 wants this to be. But let's just assume it is Edith going in the XP lane to go ahead and battle that out. They already have great crowd control available to them, and now what I'm wondering and looking forward to from E7 is, what do they want to pick up in that gold lane, and what do they want to pick up in the mid lane? Because against the Vexana here and the Valentina being banned out, this could let us see something new. You know, see something new. Like we said, we've seen Zast so far in the mid lane. There is room for that flexibility and that uniqueness. For E7, though, I feel like on how they want to approach this already, because they have the crowd control pretty much under par, like on par. The Bane comes in and has Deadliest Catch, so that is also a layer to it. They actually want to go ahead, and if they can pick up some burst in the mid lane even, this will really, right? The gold lane is still something. What do they want to do against a Claude? Top of my head, do they want to possibly pick a Brody? I know we haven't seen too much of a Clint even come out, but I'm wondering if they want to go with a traditional setup. Another combination gold lane we've seen with the Minotaur is the Iksha. Iksha with a Sky Piercer, even with the nerf, could actually end up being pretty devastating depending on how the setups come through with the lineup that E7 has.
I mean, right, it's great. You're seeing all these different heroes like the Iksha, the Brody, to be comboed in together with the Minotaur and the Edith. But just yesterday, it was Homeboys who comboed in the Minotaur together with a Minsathar in the gold lane, dude. So, you know, Lafel called it the King's Fury. Maybe we get a chance to see the King's Fury again. But at this point, you know, Chen really won't be enjoying this game, it seems, because 3 bans, well, 2 bans in the last phase, another 2 bans in the first phase. That makes it a total of 4 bans have been sent by Homeboys to E7's way. This is going to be really tough now. I feel like, especially considering the Vexana's been picked up, it kind of forces E7 to go for the Fair Miss, which can still be great for them. They have a lot of sustain. Their composition is built to team fight, and the Fair Miss will add a lot of more, you know, depth to that kind of lineup.
Maybe Novaria?
But the thing is, right, it'll be one-dimensional. It'll be 2 one-dimensional. They'll only be looking to team fight. And yeah, that's why I feel like the Novaria will be a safer choice. But now considering, you know, some of these assassins are meta again, the Lings, the Nolans even, and that's something that's actually really interesting for Homeboys. The fact that for Chibi, Nolan has been the prio assassin for the longest time for Chibi, and we don't get to see that at all in the wild card, at least for the group stages. Maybe now Homeboys decide to pick it up, but E7, they go for the carry first. They want to try to hide that last pick for Chan. Maybe it is a Novaria, or maybe it is a safer pick like the Ferrum is, but it does, you know, kind of force them to play it a little bit more one-dimensionally, just going for these team fights and skirmishes all around the map.
I think it's you also just play the fact that you have a Bane, right? For the most part, he can actually be pretty good when it comes to these objectives. And again, going on the stats that we saw, E7 likes to go for these turtles and these Allures. Yeah, that's going to be a Joy locked in so far for Homeboys and an Akai. Whoa. Okay, interesting. We don't see Joy often right now, but you know, this could be an interesting thing. This is going to be the first pick for the wild cards, at least, that we get to see Joy. And so far with that, that's going to have everything fall into place, of course. So this last pick for E7, mid lane options, Novaria is probably the safest, unless N87 wants to bring out a curveball at this point. It is game one, you know, so if you're going to go ahead and test something out, you could, because you still have that best of 5 that these teams are going to be duking it out for. With that, too, for Homeboys, the lineup that they have a ton of crowd control themselves. You know, they can lock down just using the Ruby alone and the Eternal Guard, like I talked about. And the damage, I mean, even from a Joy, provides good enough magic damage to work with that pick for the Vexana here. So, wow, Nana. Okay. I wasn't expecting the Nana pick. This is, you know, thinking Novaria would come through, but instead it's going to be the Nana for Chan. So, all right. Interesting pick. This is a whole lot of just, you know, when you land that Deadly Catcher, you get the setup and you just drop down Molina Blitz. Like, you're just going for the big damn zone. That's what you're going for here.
I mean, you said it earlier, right, Isu? If they want to try to utilize game number 1 as kind of like a read or maybe some kind of like experiment game, then yeah, I mean, it's a best of 5. This is the first best of 5 in the wild card stage. They're very used to playing the best of 1s, and maybe because they're used to it, they're acting as if, you know, that game number 1 is more of the best of 1. We're just going to try to utilize this as either a game to try to read out some of the bans that they're prepared for, or to just go with some curveballs like the Nana pick.
Well, wild pick or not, it's the last game, the last match, rather, for the wild card stage here at the Mid-Season Cup. One of these teams wants to start off by locking in their slot on the group stage to see the world. Will it be Homeboys? Or will it be Entity 7? Let us know in the chat as well which team you're supporting here, as this is the first game of this best of 5. They want to get off to a great start, both of these teams, and with the lineups that they have, taking a look at the emblems here, it's more or less the same of, you know, what we're used to seeing anyway. No new emblems being brought up for these lineups, but we'll have to pay attention to some of these early rotations, especially as we see a lot of teams, if they get first blood, or let's say even a double kill early on before the first turtle, they tend to really dominate, you know, this early portion of the game. So, you know, with that too, nothing out of the ordinary sticking out for those first items being locked in. Already, too, I want to see exactly if any of these lineups decide to utilize the Skypiercer, because we've been talking about that for so long. And, you know, with the difference of even junglers, you know, Bane, actually, look how much attention is going to be put on here. They know he's not on that side of the map, but he also has the support of the team here.
They go for retreats. Whoa, the turf right connects onto the back, and now it's going to be Chan caught. Still able to flick around as Erwin is able to disengage. Chibi diving deep into enemy lines to pick up first blood, and he gets out as well of that Earth Shatter. Quick pace by Homeboys.
Okay, already off to a good start, like I was saying, you know, whatever team starts on that first blood route, they're going to go for it and start the momentum building already. So at this point, they get that, they kind of work around this, and leading into the first turtle, the fact that you have that 1 kill already on Chibi, it gives him this kind of confidence, this advantage that he can work with against Hide on Bush. So for Entity 7 on Bush, they're going to have to be able to answer back to that. They don't want to let things get out of hand already this early on, especially with the lineup that Homeboys has. So they'll go ahead and get this kind of under control at this point. Nothing too crazy, but Homeboys will start up this first turtle of the game. They get this area to work with, and now, let's see, Entity 7, they want to make their way.
That's up top as well, just using the Blazing Duet. Now it's going to be Defiant. Oh, Suppot looking forward. Dora Wolf King now into the Minutes Fury, knocking 2 members up. GP is still doing a lot of damage out to Marquinhos with the Deadly catches sword, and now it's going to be Hide on Bush to take on the kill. A trade on the other side of that turtle pit, as it's just going to be 1 for 1, but Homeboys do get one more trade on. It's the turtle, a neutral objective, and it's a first item, Sky Piercer. Chibi, an SPA, a Sky Piercer abuser.
He's gonna pick that up already. And that was the question I had. You know, which teams would actually be able to utilize the Sky Piercer first, or even better? And Chibi picks it up right away. He's already pumping out the damage like we saw earlier against Chen, and now that it is a Sky Piercer, it gets a little more scary to work around with. And again, as we get through the mid-season cup, make sure you guys grab your MSC pass to join in on all the events in-game. And going back to this again, you know, first items, nothing too crazy just yet. It's only that Sky Piercer.
Udo flickers forward, goes for the turret fight, but gets caught by the deadly catch, and the Molina Blitz almost takes them down, forcing Zorn to go for the heavy spin. It's a good Eternal Guard to knock two members up, but there are no kills traded. Not here in the 3rd minute. Already both teams, though, showing how much action they can provide on the map.
I was surprised that amount of damage that comes through. Was that just all the deadliest catch that actually pumped out the damage? That's scary.
I think Molina as well. I think it was a boomerang.
Was it the boomerang? Okay. I mean, yeah, Chan's Molina Blitz is down. So, I mean, that was just a surprising amount of burst damage. So, even given how Homeboys started this, Entity 7 looks like they have enough in the tank to go ahead and fight. First item are going to be locked in for Hide on Bush. Does get that Hunter Strike now available. You can see Chibi's doing a pretty good job at just kind of farming and staying a little bit ahead in terms of XP against Hide on Bush. And I think the big thing about this, Zorn should be fine from this. Yeah, he's just going to poke this in and out. And Hide on Bush there. The thing I want to see is once these objectives, these objective fights happen, Entity 7 in this position they're in can actually contest this. I know they're down a couple thousand gold, but you already got a glimpse of the amount of damage, and they have the setup potential with the Minotaur, with the Edith, that they can play around. First item also going to be picked up here now by Fury, the Corrosion Scythe. Still going to stay on that bottom side, so it's just a constant 1v1 with the gold laners as they battle it out. But it's going to be on 4-on-4 eventually. I mean, neither team wants to really start this up. It's not the turtle, by the way, that has that 10% penetration. Oh, there's the heavy spin.
Good pin down by Zorn now. The team follows it up. And is Fury going to be able to knock 3 members up as Marquinhos able to flicker out with Primal Rat now. Deadly catch popped up. Not able to connect now as a Molina Blitz gets rid of Zorn's HP bar, but Chibi is still able to win out the Retribution up against Hide on Bush, who was around the turtle. Zorn getting out too. And Homeboys are just playing it very clean. Nets in the mid lane. We'll have to respect the Molina. Placed down by Fury, but Chibi already there as well. Look for damage with the help of the Blazing Duet. Dives under the turret and goes for the kills. Now one last shot with the electrifying beats, but Chan will have Erwin to back him up. Chibi will go for the recall. Jumping back in. That's a very low Chan who's forced to pop into Molina again. Just in case Chibi dives in.
Just in case. I mean, sometimes you're like, man, this Joy, where is she going to go to? And I think at this point, you know, what you're looking here from the team fights is really how Homeboys is able to go in, get the objective, and then disengage. That's kind of what the usage is right now from Udil, using that Eternal Guard. Sometimes it's just for the defensive peel. Oh, there's a conceal.
Heavy spin, no Purify. Fury is going to be pinned down. And Udil takes the kill with a Curse Blast now. Chibi diving under the turret, Hide on Bush, able to disengage with the deadly catch. Chibi on a tough spot now. He has those dashes. Easy reset for Chibi. As Homeboys gets out, and the Eternal Guard is thrown out by Udil. Getting 2 members knocked up, and you can see how impressive that Eternal Guard is. Walking up, zoning them away, putting the glowing wand on them. And Erwin will have to just take those 2 swings of the sword.
I think this Akai pick, a lot of damage on Erwin. He's going to be fine, has the feel as well, quite tanky himself. But going back to this, Akai pick is working out really well with the game plan from Homeboys. And sometimes it's really just the timing. Like a lot of this, you're seeing they get the information, they lock in, Purify's not available for Fury, they're shutting him down. You saw that was a fleeting time, now picked up by Zorn. Has the heavy spin even more now.
Yikes.
And yeah, that's a big yikes. It's something tough to deal with. For Entity 7, I'm really trying to look at how can they keep this from going too out of control. They're still maintaining, you know, a 3,000 to 4,000 gold deficit. Zorn, though, again,
Gets the pin down. Minus Fury with a flicker, catching them back. Oh, that's good. I'm offended. Catching Chan as well. The Eternal Guard locks Erwin down. The Blazing Duet now by Nets, dealing a whole lot of damage to the back line. And what back line? That's actually the front line. Curse Blast as Zor flickers forward, trying to go for the kill. 3 for 1. It's SUPERCHAT traded in. Marquinhos can't even get the Earth Shatter down as he gets terrified, and now he's forced to pop in a Primal Rat. Chibi will just collapse on him, and Zorn takes the kill away with the heavy spin.
Okay, well, I asked the question earlier, what can Entity 7 do from keeping this getting out of control?
Oh, no passive. Chibi just walks him down with the electrifying beats. 9-2. It's a massive gold lead for Homeboys.
My goodness, they gotta, I don't know, they gotta throw the drum set away or whatever Joy plays music on. Whatever the electrifying beats are, they need to get rid of them because Chibi has been just a destruction all by himself.
You know what Trex would say?
What?
Punch her in the face.
Yes, that's probably what Trex would say. You could do something like that. Right, look at this team fight in the replay. You see this, and then the Nets coming in. This is the nothing but Nets moments where he goes in at the right timing, pops the Blazing Duet, signature pick of his, comes up, cleans up, and then they add a little spice, a little sugar on top.
Fended into the Eternal Guard. Marquinhos gonna be pinned down before he can even do anything. And look at that, just with a few basic attacks, he gets it. Only a blitz on 2 Nets. That's a good shutdown. His hide on push goes for some damage. Fury picks up the kill. Meanwhile, Chibi gets rid of Erwin around the other side. It's a gold lane in the next speed, traded in for an XP in a roam. So for Homeboys, I think they actually lost out on that trade.
Yeah, this is actually good for Entity 7 to be able to actually get a couple kills that they needed. Also, Fury stayed alive here. He's got at least the golden staff now going with that Corrosion Scythe. Needs a little more time to catch up. I mean, he's 2,000 gold behind Nets. So where is Fury going to find that gold? And right now, the answer is in these team fights. You know, he's kind of forced to stay together because of what happened earlier. Even if he has the Purify up, there's enough tools from Homeboys to just kind of still lock him down if he's trying to farm up by himself. So he kind of needs to constantly be aware of where he's going to be getting that gold to catch up here. He could be a saving grace for this lineup for Entity 7. Zorn just checking things out here. They might still force a fight. Homeboys loves to do this. Oh, I'm offended. Will not be able to connect on Erwin. So they got this information. Again, we're still 15 seconds away from this Lord to come up here. Entity 7, I wouldn't say they're in a good position to actually contest the first Lord, though.
We gotta remember though, right? If we take a look at the game time, this is Homeboys' territory. This is the 13 minutes that they usually end their games in, the window for Homeboys, you could say. But for Entity 7, if you paid attention to the stats earlier in the head-to-head, they like to take the game a bit longer. And technically, I can see that skirmish being done by them. It's a deadly catch to disengage from the I'm Offended. Chibi just using electrifying beats. Oh, Marquinhos with an Earth Shatter Flicker, trying to go for that catch. But back to the point, for Entity 7, they want to prolong the game. And their composition with the Nana, with the carry, and technically almost everyone on that team, you can go for the late game team fights and they'll be very, very good for you.
Well, their average game time was what, the 19-minute mark. So if they can bring this game number 1 to that point, it'd be better for them. But right now, as the Lord is just going to be easily secured by Homeboys, as has the Turtles previously. Entity 7 will find themselves on the defense. And as we get a glimpse at the items falling into place here, before that, Nets will be fine, it looks like. So again, still time-wise, Entity 7 needing to catch up nearly across the board in every lane in terms of itemization, at least for Chan with a Lightning Truncheon, and then you have the wings there. You know, you have enough damage, actually, with a Molina Blitz to be a threat, especially if you're able to combo it with that Deadliest Catch. You can see there, though, he still needs to climb. Bro. Interestingly enough, look at the damage out. I thought he'd be able to do more, but he just hasn't been able to land enough. Molina Blitzes are just damage.
Look at Udil, though.
Yeah. Look at Udil's damage, you know? So, again, a little more defensive picked up here. The Flask of the Oasis now for Erwin. They're going to have to defend against this. It is that first Lord. They do use the Deadly Catch to clear it out. They get a Flicker out, too, from Udil. So that, for now, is going to work out. But even SUPERCHAT not able to go in unless he pops this Flicker. But so far, it looks like Homeboys will just go ahead and get these turret shields down. And there goes the Eternal Guard.
Yeah, just a little bit of damage now. Oh, onward, Earth Shatter catching SUPERCHAT, bringing him back under the turret. Minus Fury as well. Now Ness forced to use a Purify. As a 2-man pin down, but Arrow's going to be able to flick around. And Marquinhos will be taken out by the electrifying beats of Chibi. Just the 2 XP laners traded here in the 12th minute of the game. That's a BOD, by the way, for Hide on Bush.
I think this is better for Entity 7 if they can just hold it down. Again, they need a.
Yeah.
I would honestly say 6 to 8 minutes. They'll be in a better position to go ahead and deal with Homeboys. But as you're seeing, Homeboys is actually pressing the situation.
Electrifying beats again, Chan.
Okay.
Wasn't able to get that Molina. Wasn't able to take him out under the turret to punish him. And Homeboys just are still playing it slow now.
It's still the question of like, how do we deal with Chibi? He hasn't died yet. He does that time and time again. Goes in, electrifying beats, pops some damage. And, you know, part of it, too, is just dealing enough for then the follow-up to come through from that. So like we've seen so far, it's almost like choreography at this point from Homeboys. But Zorn also
doing his thing.
Yeah, doing his thing. He knows there's probably someone over here from Entity 7, so they'll go ahead and just... Really, for Homeboys, they can't really cap out on anything just yet. Oh, this is interesting, right? Okay, so this is what I was wondering also with Chibi. He does have the Genius Wand, and so I think it works brilliantly. Oh, Zorn!
Heavy spin. The Earth Shadow gonna dodge away from with the Battle Mirror image in the back line. Don't like a look at Chibi. Again with the electrifying beast, is taking Chan down. Everybody melting, but he just gets deleted in the back. Marquinhos with the Primal Wrath and Fury. These basic attacks that are just so deceiving. That's the carry damage. You don't expect it, and then suddenly all of the hits.
You get punched in the face.
You get punched in the face.
Chibi got punched in the face.
That was a bit more brutal, to be fair. That wasn't like a punch. That was a
kick. That was
okay,
sure. A kick in the face. I don't, Chibi,
a head kick.
Yeah, Chibi thought he was okay, and then he's like, oh wait, hold on. What happened? And I was gonna go into the point where he has the Genius Wand, which actually works really well with Udil, and why they can follow up. But man, talk about just a clap back from Entity 7 in that last fight. So with that, I would say Entity 7 is able to get enough kind of confidence in even dancing off with this Lord, because like we mentioned earlier, guys, the Lord gets pretty devastating. Even at this one, the second one of the game, Chibi can't just sit there and deal with it. He's going to have to also rely on these other members from Homeboys to take that front. And if you look at Entity 7, they have a lot more tanky options to hold that Lord, to hold that front side of the Lord if they have to. So for Homeboys, they might find themselves in a bit of a difficult situation where then they have to decide, do we split push? We have a Claude, he's online, Nets has done this time and time again, you know, and on this specific hero. So that's something that ND7 might want to watch out for. Conceal going to be used. Zorn, but not going to be able to find anything, so they go and just might go ahead and set up for this Lord.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what they want to do here, but they got to burst it down, they got to commit to it. They take too much damage. These members aren't really tanky. You can see from Homeboys, they're just going to go and shred it down. No problem whatsoever. Chibi even just jumping in. He is half HP though, so I think he has to be careful, and he will just use the electrifying beats for the minion waves. A good Lord take for Homeboys. But Entity 7, it almost feels like they know that they can't go for that. They can't contest it, but they can defend.
They can defend. Actually, their clear is pretty good here, especially because they have a Nana, for instance, you know, who also has the Divine Glaive locked in now. You also have Carry now locked in itemization-wise, already locked in the DHS, has the meter gold rose as well. So you have a little more defense to deal with some of the magic damage that's being pumped out, and that's been the main problem for Entity 7 against Homeboys. So they get ready for this Lord to push in. It's going to go ahead and get this charge off. See if they can defend their base.
Oh, heavy spin already used up in the bottom lane as the Eternal Guard gets popped in and just zoned him in the way. TB in the back line just doing some damage. Fury assassinated by TB in the back. And now with the Eternal Guard munching on Erwin's HP bar, it will just be them completely wiped out. Everyone except for Chan. And they'll secure game number 1.
My, oh my, on a second Lord. Homeboys said, yep, let's go. And they went. Taking out just Fury, one of the main members we were talking about leading into that, to be online and to fight for that defense. Chibi knew the assignment, went for it, and got it. So that gives Homeboys that first step towards the direction of getting that spot in the group stage. Very strong game for them. You know, again, it took them a little bit longer than their average game time, but as we take a look at the highlights, you saw this Joy, this first pick that we're seeing here in the mid-season cup for the wildcard stage. It looks like it works out great. You just have to play around it, and then once you transition to mid to late game, you got to be a little more careful, you know, going into the approach of some of these, but Chibi still played this very, very well. Yep, this is where he gets, you know, he gets checked a little bit. Is this? Yeah, that was the damage from Marquinhos, by the way, with the Primal Wrath. So, again, he knew his job. He did it well, and the team follow up. Nets, again, too. Nets on this quad. They didn't have an answer for that, you know, either. So just things really coming together for this game number 1 for Homeboys. Played their play style, played their composition really well. And I'm wondering how Entity 7 will adjust from this. We are going to take a quick break, though, before we get ready for game number 2. Sit tight. We'll be back.
सही है ब्रेक लेके ही होगा यस ब्रेक हो चुका है क्या ही चला फ्लिस्टर
Twists, turns, and a little bit of burns is how I describe Day 2 wildcard for Group B. Full of excitement and full of crowd favorites. But one team stood above the rest, and that is going to be Homeboys. All the way out from MPL Malaysia, Season 13, dominating again in a similar fashion for Group B today in MSC 2024, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. I have the whole team with me side by side, and man, the world has a lot of questions. First of all, guys, an amazing performance for today. Undefeated, just like Entity 7 for Group A. It's definitely going to be a hard match for you guys going forward, but for today, what was your guys' secret to success? How did you remain undefeated?
I think we just trust each other. And then focus discipline.
Discipline and trust in each other. It definitely showcases in your gameplay. Being undefeated is super hard. Tomorrow is going to be possibly your hardest match so far in MSC 2024. But for today specifically, what team would you say was your hardest that you had to face? IC. Yeah, they were definitely full of some challenges. You guys were a crowd favorite. I asked so many people out here in the venue who would be the #1 team out of Group B, and everybody said Homeboys. So I'm excited to see your performance tomorrow. I got a question for Chibi. I've seen a lot of the Ling gameplay out there. How do you feel about the new patch? Do you feel like it works more in your favor? Do you feel like it's easier for you or harder?
I think it's not easier, not harder, but we need to take time for practice the new patch.
Take time for practice on a new patch. It's definitely one of the most challenging things teams have to face. A new patch in a $3 million tournament. The pressure is higher than ever. Speaking of pressure, guys, tomorrow is another day, another story. It's not best of ones no more. It's the decider stage for a seat or a chance to make it into official group stage for MSC 2024. How do you guys feel about your competition in Entity 7?
I think easy. Yeah.
One word, easy. Do you feel the same, Chibi?
No. We just respect the enemy.
Respect the enemy. Well, I love to see it. Both of you guys are undefeated. You guys out of MPL Malaysia, short to SRG, but again, here being kings, dominating, not able to find a loss so far. Same thing with Entity 7. So the world is definitely going to be full of surprises watching for the decider stage to see who will earn that 16th spot. Guys, congratulations again for today. Undefeated, and I look forward to seeing your matches tomorrow.
क्या बात है ऋषभ ऑलरेडी पटी पटाई है कि फिर भी बोल रहे हो भाई पटाएंगे हाँ होम बॉयज यो बोलते अक्षत मॉस्को को तो पहले बैन करेंगे मॉस्को को तो पहले ही बैन करेंगे समझ रहे हो देखना कोई लेके ना चला जाए तुम्हें टमाटर समझ के अच्छा जाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है वाह ये मजा आ गया मैच देखकर यस यार सीरियसली मजा आ गया सच में मजा आ गया यार
बैंड है अच्छा प्लस तो वैसे यार ये जॉनसन को बैन मत दिया कर
मेरी मम्मा बोल रहे हैं उनको टमाटर चाहिए आज मम्मा को भगवान
New
क्या
adventures
बात है
bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease
टमाटर
won't stand a
चाहिए आ
chance.
जाए
With
मम्मी
new
को
Clear
लेकर
Men,
क्या बात है
powered by triple formula
अच्छा
technology.
भाई
To eliminate dandruff, itch and
यार
grease,
मेरे को पता है मेरे को प्लस का
gives you
रिएक्शन
8
बड़ा
hours of
मस्त
freshness
लगा था
and
उस टाइम पे
100% dandruff-free hair.
ऐसे कर रहे थे
New Clear Men,
भाई कितना
0%
बेकार तरीके
dandruff,
से हारी है
100%
NTT 7
confidence.
देखते हैं अभी आगे क्या होता है इसलिए बोलते गाइस किसी को कम मत समझो जब तक आप लोग गेम ना देखो उसका यार बाय द वे अभी 40 सेकंड ही बचे हुए हैं दूसरा मैच स्टार्ट होगा फिर
And we are back. Once again, welcome to the English Desk. If you're just joining us, I am Naisu, this is Mirko, and we are here for the grand final for the wildcard stage. It's day number 3, and it's Homeboys and Entity 7. Homeboys is now up 1-0 in this best of 5. And I could say, man, after watching that first game, that was pretty tough for Entity 7. I think they have to really fix a lot of things if they want to not get swept here in the series.
I think definitely one of the big things that you can take from game 1 was the fact that Chan was just not comfortable on the Nana pick. Because it was already surprising to us that we see the Nana. Maybe it's a pocket pick, maybe it's something that they want to experiment on. But if you take a look at the entire draft, that was what Homeboys were preparing for. They wanted him to be on a pick that he's not comfortable on. Sure, the Nana could work. I think in that game particularly, they had a lot of combos that could work. But the thing is, Homeboys, they banned 4 mages. So Chan was on their hit list, at least all the way in the draft. So I think for Entity 7, easy adaptation will be pick the mage in first phase.
Pick the mage in first phase, yeah. I think that could, I agree there. Let us also know what you guys feel and agree with for our broadcast, our production here, of course, for the Mid-Season Cup 2024. You can go ahead and scan that QR code and let us know your constructive feedback for us to improve everything that we can do here as we go through MSC again. Wildcards after today, we have a couple days break, I think, you know, while all the teams are now flying in the Rion, and then we get to look forward to the group stage, which is going to be quite interesting, especially depending on which team locks this last slot in here from this matchup. Homeboys is looking pretty good to be that team, though, and I think even when you kind of dissect the game, number 1 that they had there, I don't know. I didn't see too many weak points other than it just looked like when they did get, you know, when Chibi got checked, it was more so if we have this lead that we can work with, we have this kind of lineup, we might as well keep putting pressure because I think that's what the Joy did, man. The Joy was simply for the fact that you had, especially when the Genius Wand was locked in, we already saw how much damage Joy can do early on, but once you get those items locked in, you force yourself into the back lines, and then you know, you just follow up. Udil, he was just top in damage because by then the magic resistance of Entity 7 was already whittled down. You follow up with everything that you can with that Vexana. So now looking at this again, Chibi on the Joy pick, that was the first one finally that we got to see Joy picked up here throughout the wildcards. It's been a whole lot of Roger, a whole lot of Ling, and just assassins in general, and the occasional Frederick. But now you see Joy, and I would say, you know, for a lot of teams that want to play this kind of snowball, let's get the ball rolling early on, Joy is a good quality pick.
I wonder what he sold, by the way, to get that immortality, right? Because I was actually going to mention in the game that it is a very glass cannon build that he went for. But in this game, 60 minutes, so a bit longer than the average duration for Homeboys victories. Usually it's 13 minutes and maybe like 14 max. But E7 were able to bring that out of Homeboys just through making the right decisions, I would say. Because even around the last Lord, I think it would be way riskier to go for the contest over that defense, right? Unfortunately, they weren't able to go and pull off the defense either, but I think they would have been able to had Chan gotten a better pick compared to the Nana in the early phase. So really got to give props to Homeboys here. They did their homework. A lot of people, I think in the group stages, especially in the wildcard, I think they're underestimating all their opponents. So the fact that Homeboys are like, okay, you know, Group A, significantly weaker on paper compared to our group, but we still got to respect them. Just like all the other teams here in the wild card. So they did their homework really well. They targeted Chan, and so far, when Chan doesn't get his pick, it doesn't seem like it's the same E7 that we saw from day one.
Yeah, definitely. And like we had that fact when we were in the draft for game number 1. You know, he's been a monster on the low E pick, so I think that's probably a staple from Homeboys, at least for the draft. They're just going to ban out the low E. So yeah, you gotta wonder what is going to be available for Chan, because we've seen him be a playmaker himself throughout Entity 7's run in their group, and now that they're at this point, they've got to be able to answer some of the pressure that Homeboys is putting. I think any team that goes against a team like Homeboys, and there's a lot of them in the groups waiting, I feel like you have to really adjust early on, man, because for some reason, well, I know the reason, it's this patch. Things have changed, and you can't have these like slow starts anymore.
You really
you know,
can't,
it's all just like fighting, clashing, and even when it comes to those Lord fights, it's the same thing. You know, if you fall so far behind, and right now it feels like even 4,000 gold deficit is tough for some teams to actually go and contest, like when it comes to the Lord.
It feels like, especially when your team is able to get the Sky Piercer very early, that 4,000 gold lead.
That first item, by the way.
That first item for Chibi, the 4,000 gold lead feels more like a 10,000 gold lead before the patch hit. Because the Sky Piercer, I think we got, you know, visual on the stacks as well. I think at that point of the game when we did see Chibi get level 15 on the joy, he had 30 stacks of that Sky Piercer. So already there at that point, he was executing people very, very easily everywhere around the map, and that's why he was able to just go in with the Immortality, with the Blood Wings. And man, you know, I was actually talking about the nerfs before when Joy got nerfed, you know, the anti-CC no longer there for the electrifying beats. I was like, all right, it's cool, Moonton, that you got rid of the electrifying beats anti-CC, because I think for all of us, we don't really like that. But damage, why did you nerf the damage too? And now after seeing this, okay, this is a nerf Joy, by the way. This is a Joy that can be stopped. And he was unstoppable in that game.
It's still, in a way, it's like a glass cannon, right? But we'll see what adjustments happen here. We are going to be just heading into the draft here in just a bit. So let's go ahead and take a quick little trip to the draft.
तुम्हारे mod को देखो, तुम्हारे mod के मुंह से क्या-क्या word निकल रहे हैं, देखो
Okay.
जरा.
That's a quick little trip.
I think that is the trip.
For the first time, you know, your quick little trip was actually quick.
Yeah, that was about a second or so.
That was a second? No way. I mean, like, you usually say, you know, that's been a second, and that actually, it's like a day or an hour at least, bro.
Well, you know what? That was less than 10 seconds on my time.
I think that's like my time too. Maybe you've adapted to my time, to the human time building, man.
I'm in the human time zone now, but look at this. Louis Yi is actually going to be the staple ban from Homeboys, like we talked about. So that's not happening for Chan. Chan's gonna have to have a different idea, and I think that's how it's solved, Miracle. I think you hit the nail on the head. Just pick up that mage first phase if you're E7, because you get those 2 picks being on the red side. You know, you can just go ahead and play on that advantage, because Nana was not going to work for them. I get too, Nana can provide some pretty good burst damage, but just the overall impact, what are you going to do with the boomerangs, man? You know, like how is that going to work in comparison to what we saw from the Vexana earlier, or a Valentina, for example, if it's not banned out? You know, we might see one of the teams actually ban the Valentina out here still, because it seems like they're going on that focused route on dealing with that. Mozkov might still come up or not. Gold lane so far, I feel like even if we look at the previous game, that gold lane matchup, there's the Mozkov ban. Dealing with nets, you can't let him get the Claude, I feel like. This is probably one of his best picks, if not the best pick for nets to play around with. Before, you know, this has been a minute. Bruno has not popped up here like at all for a lot of teams, but Nets also loves that Bruno pick. Does play the Claude though to a T, and that's what we saw here. So I'd love to see E7 if they wanted to go ahead and play, you know, with like trying to get the advantage. Either they ban out a marksman as well, because the Mozkov has been banned here, and that narrows things down a little bit further, or you try to pick up the Claude in this exchange. Whatever Homeboys is going to give up, then maybe you swing back. You either get the Claude, you get the Roger, and then you lock in the Mage. Because it looks like Homeboys, they might go for the Roger, right? Depending on how these last couple bans go out for the first phase. You saw the Harith already take it out here. So we'll see exactly what the Homeboys plan is going to be this time around.
All right, so it's going to be the Chip and the Harith bans, so the exact same bans as game number 1. And for Homeboys. If you guys are a Homeboys fan, that's great, you know? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was exactly the banning phase that they used to dominate E7 in the game. But for E7 particularly here, even if they get a pick onto Chan, are they that confident that, you know, giving the Claude over, like you mentioned to Nets, someone who's been able to perform consistently on the Claude, given over maybe even the Vexana over to Udil.
Yeah.
Udil has only played Vexana, I believe, in a wild card. And I think for the most part, even back in MPL ID, when he used to play in MPL ID, Udil is always like this, dude. If he wins on a pick, he's like, why should I even swap?
Yeah.
He goes on Farsa, wins on Farsa, plays Farsa the entire season. Now it's Vexana, so he's definitely found a new favorite there. I'm glad it's new, because I would be pretty surprised if he still wants to play Farsa after playing Farsa the entire. It could work, but it does seem like, you know, he wants to utilize that Eternal Guard more than the Feather Airstrike now. He wants to have like a beefy boy protecting him in the front, but
feel a little safer. You know?
this is the exact same bans, which I think it should be, because I think the Roger would be a bit deadly to leave open, knowing that both Nets and Chibi.
Oh, they banned the Claude.
Oh, the Claude ban comes through, but you leave open the Roger.
This Homeboy's just swinging for it.
Oh, the Claude is a great ban. I understand, you know, you mentioned it. It's great on Nets, but the thing is the Roger can be flexed, and both Chibi and Nets can play so well. Chibi, just yesterday, it was the same kind of build that we saw for the
there he is.
For the Joy. But yeah, Sky Piercer, War Axe, Endless Battle. He didn't even go for the Windtalker. That was how ahead he was.
Yeah, they're happy with this too. They're smiling about it. You can see that. You know, it's interesting because he's only got a 44% win rate, but that's because he's been flexed. I would say his statistics in the gold lane aren't as good as we've seen them in the jungle, and that'll probably carry over even into the group stage. We'll have to see how that Roger changes, because I think one of the teams, or one of the things teams really have to have like an answer for is dealing with the Roger and dealing with the Lings that have been popping up. This is still going to be an Edith that's locked in here for E7 in this first phase. Let's see. Do they go for the mage? Do they lock it in here already? Depending on how this goes, because the Edith actually is still. Wow, what? It's the same two picks. They go with the Bane again.
Okay, they should change the third pick. They should change the first. Maybe they're just trying to look at Homeboys first. You know, you got the Roger already. Are you going to pick up the Vexana again? If you do go for the Vexana, okay, that's like I said, it'll probably be the Vexana, and then the same. Okay, we're just seeing. You know what? What's scary? We're seeing a change, but that was actually a good change for Homeboys. They got a better pick than the Claude. They got the Roger. Now they have two flex picks, right? In the previous draft, we saw the Claude and then the Ruby Vexana, which means that the Vexana and Claude, we know where it's going. Ruby, a bit of a flex. Now, we get to see the Roger, so now it's going to be even more confusing. If E7 go for Minotaur,
we're in the Twilight Zone.
Oh, man. It'll be very scary for E7 if they go for the Minotaur. I mean, it's good for their combo. I get it, but also... You can see the previous draft right above there. I just had to, you know, look at it again.
Just confirm it was the previous draft.
It was exactly the same. I guess we'll see here if it's going to be a change. Maybe they go for a mid laner. Maybe they even go for a...
Oh.
Okay, there you go. They picked up the Eve there, but Eve wasn't bad. So technically they could have gone Minotaur here, and they could have gone for the Eve, right?
Yeah, they could have. She wasn't banned previous game. But you know what? Hey, Miracle, this follows what we were saying they should do.
Yeah.
Mage, first phase,
I agree.
Lock it in. All right? Entity 7 has locked it in. Chan's got it, and this is a pick that, you know, he does play. He does like this pick. It does provide that death box potential when you're going into the objectives. The only thing I hope for is that they're able to actually get to that point where they're able to contest against the objectives because of the mere fact that that's a Roger on Homeboys. And if anything is to be said, Roger will snowball the heck out of this game number 2. And looking at this too, a little game fact here before this decider match. Nets 27 had a 27 KDA.
Wow.
It's the highest among all the wildcard players. The second highest is Supplant with a 9.33.
Two Homeboys players.
2 Homeboys at the top of that KDA standing here. Wow, 27 KDA for Nets. And that's what I was saying, you know, at the end of game 1, I was like, man, even if they had an answer for Chibi, you got to have an answer for Nets. Because Nets is just... Nets, especially when he gets a Claude. So that's why I'm saying, like, I actually like the fact that Entity 7 decided to go that route, ban out the Claude. It forces Nets on something else. So I'm also wondering what Nets will pick, because He is one of the players that likes to play the Harris in the gold lane, but that's banned out. So we might see him bring up maybe something new for the gold lane, unless this is a flex. Unless the Roger is flexed for Nets in that gold lane. But as we get through this second phase of bans, the Terizla is banned out, the Minotaur, like we mentioned earlier. And, you know, for I think both the teams, this first phase is good. It's locked in. I mean, it's nearly identical, but the Eve I like better than what we saw last time. I think a lot of people still need to see the the value of Eve in the current meta.
That's true.
Because I feel like she could be quite devastating with some of the new items too.
Great poke.
You know, the poke is actually pretty good. The glowing wand could actually provide a lot of value to this lineup going against Homeboys. If that happens to be one of the first few items that is picked up here by Chan. Because, you know, there's a Ruby over there, there's a Roger, and you kind of need to do that. The only thing I don't like about Eve, she's stationary. Like, you are vulnerable in that sense once you set up.
And that's exactly why they banned the Ling, right? Because the Ling would be able to take advantage of how stationary you are, of how you're technically immobile in these skirmishes. You can't be, you know, as flexible as a Valentina, as flexible even as a Lo Yi with the diversions. You can't find those angles, and you don't really have a way to self-peel. Because usually with the heroes like this, you have a way to CC your opponent, right? Even the Farsa, you get the immobilization with the passive. But now with the Grok and the Terizla banned out, they're really trying to stop E7 from bringing up these heroes. They can actually lock these members out from Homeboys. Because I think for Homeboys, they want to play similarly to how they played or executed their game plan for game 1. They want to attack from different angles. They want to utilize their mobility and to make E7 utilize their resources, and then Homeboys comes in. Again, it's like a layering type of gameplay for Homeboys, baiting out resources and then coming back again later.
Yeah, we'll see if they do that. Also, as we wait for this next pick, I almost would like to see an Arlot picked up here. I think that could work out really well, kind of swooping them into either the deadliest catch or into the real-world manipulation. Yeah. You know, it could work out, but Carmilla is going to be the answer for now. So that's the answer for E7. So this means the Carmilla, is this going, where's this going? Is this Rome? Rome Carmilla?
Should
has to be Rome Carmilla, right?
Technically, yeah, it should be Rome because
Bane going to the jungle, Edith going
Edith
XP. Yep, all right.
It is still very one-dimensional, though, nice, right? I mean, if we take a look at game number 1, the main reason, you know, E7 weren't really able to look for anything else except for team fights was this composition, and that's why Homeboys were able to get an overwhelming lead at the start of the game. They utilized their pickoffs, they utilized their mobility, and now we get to see Nets on the carry, so it'll be confirmed Roger will be going into the jungle. That's the higher win rate of the two jungle/goal lane Rogers that we've seen. And now the last pick for Zorn. Or perhaps for Suppot, it's going to be the Mathilda. So Mathilda for Zorn.
Yeah, this is a great last pick here. And it's funny because Mathilda, in a way, is kind of slept on now, which, you know, she was in this kind of mode where she was banned out constantly previously in the year, but a lot of teams don't want to pick her up as much, but she still provides a lot of value. And this, really, the value that comes from Mathilda with this lineup from Homeboys is the guiding win. Mostly, I'd say the guiding win, allowing the carry to maneuver around a little bit better, because there's a lot of lockdown that could happen from E7 in the form of that deadliest catch. You know, even the Curse of Blood will be able to set things up for Entity 7, despite what they have here for Homeboys. I think you need that mobility because you already have it. Roger has enough mobility himself, you know, and you can play around that.
Yeah.
You have Eternal Guard to disengage for yourself, so this is really for that carry pick. And here's the Clint that comes through for E7. Interesting. This is, you just look at this lineup.
Mobility versus stand your ground.
Just stand your ground. Post up, fight it out, and hope, too, that, you know, you can make it through, because I still would say, like, it's almost a similar facet here for E7. They want to get to the late game. Clint can do quite a bit of damage, but he needs time. You know, he's going to get time to get to that high noon status. He's not just firing off early on, you know, and Carey does too, but the whole point of this is, again, Roger is across from you. So, you know, we saw a glimpse of Bane's damage in the previous game. Hopefully they can have even a better time, because he lost a lot of his purple buffs. So you guys lost you didn't see the breakdown there of buffs. They need to lock that down for him. So, we got the lineups here locked in for both teams, Homeboys and D7. It's about same, but a little bit of diff. Let's head into this game number 2 and find out if Entity 7 can bring this series in the best of 5 to a 1-for-1 as both teams get closer to locking things in for the group stage. And also looking at this, there's a whole lot of quantum charge for Entity 7. Focusing mark, though, too, for Erwin. Look at this already, the pressure from Zorn. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him at all. Take a couple hits, going to be fine.
All right, Warcry, by the way, for Chibi. But this matchup in the gold lane, it should favor Fury by quite a bit. Marquinhos already with the rotation very early on as well. That would explain why he went for the lane cut very, very early. Udil still with this Vixana. Chibi getting brought back. Erwin is going to be taken out now under the turret like it pounds. And Chibi, he didn't even follow through under the turret. He gets out. Warcry plus, obviously, man, the like and pounce interaction. Sometimes you follow, sometimes you just deal the damage.
Sometimes you just, somehow you follow him and you're still in the jungle, you know?
It works for them.
It works right there, and this is exactly what we were talking about in the draft, guys. You know, when you get this Roger locked in and somehow, some way you're able to get the lead, which most teams play around this. If you are going to draft the Roger, you look for that play potential early on, and that's exactly what Homeboys did. Good response here from Hide on Bush.
Whoa. Interesting dive into the deadly catch. He goes Zorn, though, provided the guiding win as the turret fight connects onto the back line with the Curse Blast as well. Hide on Bush, unable to go for the kills at Chibi. You can see him. He's smelling blood in the water. The Hide on Bush will be able to escape. Under the turret he goes. Sabat canceling the recall. Marquinhos with the onward. Now with the Earth Shatter connecting as well for the turret fight. And the Curse Blast gets rid of him. Rivera, he can even go for the trade. Chibi going to be locked down. Lycan pounce there together with Chan, picking up that damage and the kill. Now the turtle free for Hide on Bush. He doesn't have the retribution though. And Eternal Guard is already dealing damage. It's going to be Chan who secures it as a real world revelation. Locks them down. And Chan secures the double kill. Zorn trying to run away. Will be able to do so as he also used the Purify in that skirmish.
And that's what we're talking about from Chan. Locks in this Eve pick first phase and is going to be the start here. Yes, the huge impact, the difference of the impact here already in comparison to the Nana pick in game number 1. That's what Entity 7 needs. So now that he has these 2 kills, he's going to be locking in that first item a lot sooner, and which will, again, they play around the real world manipulation. So able to punish Homeboys. You know, Homeboys going for that play, and they were off timing a little bit. They weren't able to get Chibi there when they tried to follow up through that setup. So it was unfortunate for them because then they just ended up overstaying on that side, taking a lot of damage. Entity 7 punishes them and makes a great play. So they'll be able to keep things together. A good item already picked up here for Fury. Gets that Blade of Hepsises locked in. So the Clint, I think one thing you really need to pay attention to is where is that power spike for this lineup from Entity 7. It's already showing that they have a lot of fighting potential early on. You know, and meanwhile, too, Hide on Bush with the deadliest catch, all he has is a Fury Hammer. And he actually does provide quite a bit of damage if they're able to catch them in that real-world manipulation. And now he does lock in the Hunter Strike. So this is already good for Entity 7, much better than the previous game. You know, gold-wise, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much balanced between both teams. But Entity 7 is really able to keep these early skirmishes.
Okay. Curse the blood.
A little fake out there. I feel like that was more of, could something happen here? If not, then they at least got the Curse of Blood out. They might still try to do the same thing on this side of the map.
They're going to be slowed. Good deadly catch by Hide on Bush. They get 2 big resources. Like you said, man, I think Entity 7 might have to give away this turtle.
Yeah, they might have to just go ahead and get that orange buff. But it looks like Homeboy's not going to actually fully start it up because they still need Chibi to get his purple. Eternal Guard will be dropped down, but they're just going to kind of deal with this zoning potential right now. Erwin doesn't have the Curse of Blood yet, neither does Hide on Bush have that deadliest catch. So they'll try to play around these timings, waiting for those cooldowns to come up.
Oh, Marquinhos with the Earth Shatter and the Flicker combo connecting on the Chibi with Onward, not connecting, but the Primal Rat does enough damage with that. The catch as well. Chibi's Lycan Pounce now caught in the real world manipulation as Hide on Bush gets rid of them. The Curse of Blood on the 2 right into the combo of Hide on Bush. Earth Shatter knocking Udil up, doing some damage. Chan with the Flicker forward, but Udil will respond to that with his own Flicker. Both teams now for Chibi He was not able to get anything. It's going to be E7 straight into the tier 1 in the mid lane, taking it away. And this is a good lead for E7.
This is a great lead. I mean, they're up now 2,000 gold against Homeboys, really showing that they control this phase of the game. And meanwhile, this whole time, Fury, the gold lane experience, just chilling in that gold lane, farming up, getting everything that he needs, does get that turret down now, tier 1 down in the bottom side. So he's going to go ahead and get to rotate and continue to farm up here, because so far he doesn't need to be in these fights, man. Like he's doing his thing, his own time. And Entity 7 is able to just again post up and fight it out. Look at the XP difference this time around, and this answers the question on why the Bane again in the first phase with that Edith. And there's your answer. Really being able to farm up this time around for Hide on Bush. Hasn't died yet. And really, when you look at it, one of the answers to deal with Roger here might be real-world manipulation. You trap him in, you lock him down. The Curse of Blood. There's a lot of these abilities that are working really well against how much mobility Roger has here. And now hopefully they can maintain that, but you see this too, the War Axe is going to be that first item locked in, so it looks like even for Chibi, you know, he wants to be a little bit more cautious and not just going all in on that first Skypiercer build path we sometimes see from the Rogers here in the jungle. So with that right now, Homeboy is going to find themselves working against a minor deficit. And Entity 7, as they get ready for that third turtle, they've already got 2 in their pocket. They can possibly just go ahead and lock all 3 in. And as you see them getting in position here, Turtle's now going to spawn up. Turtle Guard already going to be dropped down.
Marquinhos with the onward onto Sapan with Earthshadow connecting as well. Sapan is unable to go for the escape. Chibi going to be locked down by the real world Malaysian as well. Chibi with Lycan Power, but they gets caught by the Primal Wrath of Marquinhos. 3 members of Homeboys taken down, and Entity 7. They collapsed, they got the win. Homeboys can only go for a trade up top.
Entity 7 right now is in full control of this portion of the game. Look at the damage on Zorn. You know, Fury, we were wondering, when would that damage start to show? When would that power spike come through? And I think it's already here, and that is going to make it even more difficult to move around with. That's the Ice Queen wand picked up by Chan. Great initiation that came out through here. Primal Wrath to pick up the kill from Sapat, and then they punish Chibi even further as he was just trying to get his orange buff. So it looks like Entity 7, man, they really had this game plan to get revenge here at Marquinhos.
I'm offended into the knockup of the circling Eagle into the damage, and Marquinhos still able to survive with the Primal Wrath, now dealing some damage back. Nets will be able to take the kill down. Now with the flicker of the Curse of Blood connects on the 3 members, and they can look at the deadly catch. Now with Fury dealing the damage with the grenade bombardment. Entity 7, they respond to that play, and they capitalize on it. It's only the XP traded in for 2 big members, but it's out of Homeboys. Chibi walking up again, Hide on Bush. Oh, the bounce of the crab cannon. Did you see Udo's HP?
Those crabs hurt, man.
Yikes.
That crab cannon is loaded. And like you just saw, the combination that we were talking about even in the draft, real world manipulation with the deadliest catch is able to just do so much damage. They even get the Sea Halberd to kind of work. Oh.
The stun down into the grenade bombardment. He can only go for Lycan Pounce, but then Chan and Fury continue the damage output to take him down under the turret. Zorn's looking for a trade with a circling Eagle. Marquinhos pops into Primal Wrath just in time, and he soaks in all that damage. No problem. Now the Sharks running them down. The Crab Cannon nets. Oh, the bounce as Fury takes a turret for free up top, buys the Skypiercer as well. 9 minutes in, and this is an even bigger goal lead that Homeboys had in game 1.
Yeah, this is Entity 7 from what we saw through their groups, going the distance 3-0 in all their games, sweeping their group, going against the same for Homeboys as they swept their group. But man, it looks like just Entity 7 very strong in this game number 2. Look at the damage. Look at the amount of damage that this pick, this Bane is doing in the hands of Bush. Yeah, it's this is big damn, man. Like, and he's not even fully locked in right now in terms of the items, and so it's really, you're wondering, you know, what can Homeboys now do? They're finding themselves on the opposite end of things. That's already going to be the Lord Security here for Entity 7. And Homeboys, they're going to have to get prepped up and ready. For Nets does pick up the DHS, an endless battle for Chibi now as well. Wow. Some of those items still paying, I mean, you could say they could pay value to this lineup for Homeboys, but right now, as you look at the disparity in terms of items, they're having a difficult time fighting. You almost have to rely on them to get the ultimates out from Entity 7, especially the real-world manipulation, but it looks like they might just find themselves on this defense. The Lord making its way up top. Chan now also picks up the glowing wand, so that even helps further dealing with some of the possible shielding and sustainability from Homeboys. As that Sea Helper is already locked in too. There, they go in.
They're in the flank. Meanwhile, Lycan pounds into the back line. Chan's gonna be shut down. GB in the midst of it all, going for the team fight now with another Lycan pound. The Earth Shadow will connect. The Primal Rat will lock them down to get munched on by the Sharks of the deadly catch. Hide on Bush. Only now does he buy the Sky Piercer. I thought he already had it with how much damage he was doing. Now in the mid lane, base turret. That holy defense already getting procced down, as now it's going to be Fury with the grenade bombardment together with Hide on Bush, munching on the base turret HPs. With the first Lord, they're able to take all three up top of the Lord, down below with the Sharks coming down again onto the base. Udo trying to do some damage to the Curse Blast as well, but Erwin will just walk it forward. 11 minutes, Entity 7!
Where is... They didn't even have a chance to defend. I mean, Hide on Bush was not hiding anywhere. He just goes in, knocks down the base, under the 12-minute mark. Entity 7 came back in game 2 with a vengeance, man. Wow.
Sky Piercer.
Wait, guys, wait.
When he got the Sky Piercer, I was speechless because I thought he already had the Sky Piercer. How was he doing that much damage? This Bane. No wonder it's first pick, right? Now you really see it. You really get to see it in Marquinhos this game on Edith. We're sorry for doubting that Edith first pick.
Yep, we're sorry for doubting these first two picks from Entity 7. This one worked well. You know what? I think the biggest change was just the Eve, man.
The Eve, and I would say giving away the Roger instead of the Claude, right? Because for the Roger, I guess for these initiations, you can't disengage instantly like the Claude, so you can't get locked down in the team fights.
Huge value. Yeah, they should be happy about that win because, man, did they come out, and now it's a 1-1 for the series. We're going to take a quick short break before we come back. Sit tight.
पार्टी बदलने की बात चल रही थी तुम्हारी तो भाई आप उछल लो गेम के अंदर में हम उछलेंगे वही बोला है मतलब ऐसा बोला है कि अभी आप नाच लो बेसिकली ठीक है फिर गेम के अंदर लाइक वो जो लाइक टीम्स की बात चल रही है कि अगर अभी आप कर लो फिर बाद में हम उछलेंगे ऐसा बोल रहे हैं जैसे अभी आप बोल रहे हैं ना ये लाइक इस टाइप से देखते हैं अक्षत भाई देखते हैं अपन भी ठीक है देखते हैं होम बॉयज ट्रोल करेंगे बोला था पहले ही देखते यार क्या होता है मजा तो आ रहा है ये बात तो सही है गाइस बताओ यार किस को मजा आ रहा है नोवी जी मैं हूँ आपके साथ चिंता ना करो अभी गेम बाकी है यस गेम बाकी है भाई 5 बजे से हमारा भी टूर्नामेंट है यार अभी तो 442 हो रहा है यार फिर हम मैच कैसे देखेंगे पूरा सीरियसली किसको ट्रोल करेंगे अगर होम बॉयज जीत गए ना तो फिर याद रखना होम बॉयज वाले भी इतना गंदा ट्रोल करेंगे ना कि याद रखोगे जो भी लाइक E7 वाला होगा फिर इसलिए ये तो मत ही बोलो कि भाई हम ट्रोल मारेंगे ठीक है मेरे को थोड़ी डर है वही बोल रहे हैं ठीक है गेम का बात गेम तक ही रहने दो गेम तक ही रहने दो भाई पर्सनल मत जाओ कोई भी
كنا نحسبها وقت التسلية بس نحسبها بس ذكريات
क्या इसके पहले इसीलिए इतना चुप बैठे हुए थे ना ओह यार ये क्या हो गया एंटिटी 27 को मतलब एक टावर तक नहीं तोड़ने दिया था सीरियसली
और
كنا
याद है ना
نحسبها
नबी?
بس لما
एक के बदले में दो लिया
وصحبة وسهرات
अरे लिया सो लिया अभी गेम बाकी है फ्लूस्टो
لكن كنا نشوف عالم
ठीक है
ما حد
देख
يشوفه
लेंगे हाँ गेम अभी बाकी है गेम अभी बाकी है इसलिए हल्के में मत लो किसी को भी ठीक है
عالم الحماس
वही
فيه
बात
يوصلك
है और गेम का बाद
نحن
गेम
الأصعب بس
हाँ
ما
हाँ
يصعب عليك
ठीक है जाओ जाओ देख लो तुम भी कर लेना पहले जीत के बताओ चलो
وين ما تروح
हाँ
And welcome back,
Next day.
ladies and gentlemen, on the English desk here.
गेम कभी
We're
खत्म नहीं
now
हुआ
almost halfway, I would say halfway,
खत्म
depending on
नहीं
how
हुआ
things
है,
go,
नूरी जी,
through
मैं
this
हूँ आपके
grand
साथ, जो
final
बोलते भाई।
against Entity
यार,
7
फिर
and
मजा नहीं
Homeboys.
आएगा यार,
They're
फ्लूस्टो।
looking to lock in that slot, the last one for the group
सही में यार, फिर
stages
मजा
here
नहीं
for the
आएगा।
Mid-Season
यार,
Cup
ये
2024.
बहुत ज़्यादा
And it's
important
1-1.
थे यार, हम
It's
दोनों के
even
लिए, क्योंकि
now
कुछ
across
लोग
the
हम
board, and I
दोनों
think
में
for all
बच
the
चुके हैं,
people that were
समझ
thinking
रहे
it'd be
हो,
a
B7 और,
sweep, that's not
Homeboys
happening.
में।
Entity 7 with their
देखना था
now,
यार,
I would say,
मजा नहीं
very
आएगा अगर
key
उसके
pickups,
बाद अगर
the
देखा ना कि
Edith,
कोई भी टीम
the
जीती है
Bane,
तो उतना excitement भी नहीं
ended
होगा।
up playing a part in that game number 2, and they did it in a
अभी
decisive
दोनों
fashion. It was
equal
under the
पर है,
12-minute
फ्लूस्टो
mark.
भाई। Yes
So,
यार,
you know,
अभी
before we
दोनों
talk
ही,
more, go
दोनों
ahead and scan that
ही,
QR code for
दोनों
us.
ही
Let us
equal है यार।
know your feedback for the broadcast here as we go through the MSC 2024. We appreciate
जब
it,
ये
and
पार्टी
we
बदलने
do
की
see
बात
your
चल
guys'
रही थी
feedback. So
अभी
thank you
दोनों
guys
की
so
चल रही
much.
थी भाई
Now,
तुम्हारी भी और फ्लूस्टो
again, for this
तुम्हारी भी,
matchup,
दोनों
as
की
it's
चल
1-1,
रही थी, हाँ।
one
पार्टी
thing's for
बदलने
sure,
के भाई फिर हम
Roger
EWC के
Jungle
साथ आ
was at
जाएंगे।
100% win rate before this.
अरे
It's
तो
not
पार्टी
anymore.
क्यों बदलना भाई
He has
पार्टी
been,
क्यों बदलना
At least he's felt the loss. And
Felt the loss.
अच्छा,
we saw the
देवाशीष
struggle,
भाई
man.
और
Like, this
अक्षत, बताओ
Roger pick
मुझे, जो आपको
did not
टीम
work
मिली है,
as
आपको
well as we've
उसके
seen it in
साथ
the
ही रहना
past.
चाहिए ना,
Definitely not.
मतलब
What was the answer here,
seriously
Mirko?
भाई,
I think
एक
the
मैच
answer
के
was
बीच में
just
सामने
that for
वाले
E7
इतने
they
ज़्यादा
had
चल
a
रहे हैं,
way
क्या
to actually
बोल रहे हैं
lock him
यार?
down right as he goes for the like and pounce,
भाई,
right? Because
टावर
he
में
goes in,
घुसने
once
तक
you go
नहीं
into the
दिया
Roger,
था।
it's really hard to
टावर
disengage,
में
especially,
घुसने नहीं दिया
I mean,
था भाई,
technically not
seriously
even that, right?
यार।
Because in that game, they had ways to disengage. They had
वो तो
a
पता है,
Mathilda
फ्लूस्टो
to bring him out
मैंने किसको
constantly, but
मारा
the fact
तभी
that they had
टावर में
so
भी नहीं
much
आने
CC,
दिया था।
Curse of Blood, the Primal Wrath also to
फ्लूस्टो
lock you
भाई,
down, but before that, the
और
Earth Shatter.
मार।
So many layers on top of that, so
RWM.
much damage, and
अरे
you
तो
mentioned it,
उनका तो
the
एक भी नहीं,
real
एक
world
मतलब
manipulation
एक
that
टावर भी नहीं
locks you
तोड़ने
down
दिया
as
और
well,
सबका गोटी
manipulating that
गायब।
mobility
एक
field.
साथ सबका
You're
गोटी
gonna have to
गायब
blink
हुआ
out,
था,
and that's
ठीक
why the
है,
club is so
भूलो
high.
मत,
They prioritized the
भूलो
lead
मत,
because
भूलो मत, एक
they
साथ
went for
सबका
Cloud
गोटी
Man already.
गायब
That
किया
blink
है,
is no
ठीक
longer
है।
there.
I think it was
मेरा
very
homeboy
clutch
भी है,
here
जो बोलते
to pick up the
देवाशीष
Eve,
भाई,
and that's
मतलब
kind of what we were
एक
looking
मैच
for.
के
You
जीत
know,
गए, सामने
Nana
वाले
didn't work
इतना
the game
उछल
one,
रहे
bring
हैं
out
ना,
the
कुछ
Eve,
लोग की क्या
kind of
बताऊं
Bush here
भाई।
on this Bane pick now back to back. Like I said, he came out with a
Why-
plan this
why
one
का कुछ
because
बात
he
नहीं
had
हुआ?
a difficult game one. We actually had good damage in game one, but he didn't get any time to really even have the purple buffs. He wasn't able to rotate the way that they wanted to because they got so far behind in terms of even that jungle. But this time, you know, Hiram Bush was a huge component to this lineup working. And even if you look at the items, you know, he picked up, like Mirko mentioned, that Skypiercer was later. By the time the game was nearly done, he locked it in. So just with the Hunter Strike, pretty much the Hunter Strike and the BOD, and then he had the Sea Halberd. Deadliest catch was deadly, man. You know, mind the pun, it was crazy to see that amount of damage in the real world manipulation, and I think that layered together worked out really well because what we're talking about is when the Roger is trying to sometimes even avoid getting, you know, some of the damage, they're using that Lycan Pounce, but when it's timed up with a deadliest catch, you know, the way that the sharks go through the real world manipulation, the timing is not going to be there. You're going to get caught no matter what, and that's what we saw really shut down and control this lineup from Homeboys. And yeah, interestingly enough too, I feel like with that Matilda pick, Zorn wasn't able to play his game. Like I feel like Zorn is able to be a lot more proactive on some of those tankier, you know, roams. Initiate with Matilda. You technically can kind of initiate with Circling Eagle, but you're more so there to protect the team by using the Guiding Wind, playing a little more passive on the back front, you know. And so I think that might have to be the adjustment here too for Zorn for Game 3. But I'm wondering, man, is this just going to be the same first two picks that we see from Entity 7? Like, are those the game changers, the Edith and the Bane? Or is it going to warrant a possible ban from Homeboys this time?
I think they shouldn't overreact, right? Because that's the thing that E7 did. After game number 1, they didn't overreact. They weren't like, okay, our draft is completely like garbage. You have to completely just put this in the trash bin and go for a completely different way. No, they were like, all right, no, we have things in this draft that could work. We just need to make micro adjustments here and there. Maybe we don't go for the mid lane in the second phase and go for the Minotaur to lock you down. Maybe we go for the Yi first. That's a comfort pick for Chan that can lock you down. And it also adds in as another layer of CC on top of damage. And you mentioned it, blowing wand. Now you can get that down onto any one of the members on the other side. Maybe that's why the Matilda has really fallen, right?
Yeah.
Usually, at least in the early to mid, you're able to get so much healing, so much sustain to the rest of the team. But and its first item for most mages, you kind of lose out to dish out back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, even for the mages, I like that some of the shake-up in terms of itemization that is brought through, because that was always a struggle. Even me as a mage main, I love the mage heroes here, but I always wondered, like, all right, when is the right timing to pick up Necklace of Durance? Because usually I would always go Glowing Wand, Ice Queen Wand. You'd have those, maybe depending on the build, maybe you want to go Holy Crystal, and that costs a little more now. But now it's perfect, because now that Necklace of Durance is built into the Glowing Wand, and the value of it is huge, and that's what we're seeing here for a lot of these teams, utilizing, first item, pick it up if you want to. I guess the other variation for first item for most mages might be an Enchanted Talisman, depending on that hero picked up. But this was great. This is exactly also when we talked about Chan specifically, what he had to do kind of to step up, because, you mentioned it. Marquinhos already having a pretty good game one. It was just unfortunate the way that they got collapsed down on from Homeboys. And so I think this was the proper adjustments. Looking to it, I mean, we didn't even get to see the Clint fully shine. Like, for the majority of the early game to mid-game, like, he was just farming. Gold lane experience, farm up, do his thing, and then when he started to approach the base, you could see it with the grenade bombardments. Like, the damage was there. First item for the Clint was the Blade of Heptases, but he didn't even get to use it because he was just farming. No one wanted to fight with him, And then at the end of the game, like we mentioned, you really saw the impact of the amount of burst potential that came from this lineup from Entity 7, and it's interesting, man. I'm wondering if this game 3, what kind of adjustments will happen here, because we haven't had a game go past, I can't even recall throughout the wildcards. I know we've had maybe a couple 20-minute games, but we haven't had one go that distance.
Yeah. That
25, 26 onward.
And we've only really seen best of one. So the fact that now we get to see both teams having to adapt to the different circumstances, to the different drafts as well. The picks, the compositions, the execution most importantly. Because I feel like even if, in the draft, E7 had answers to Homeboys' draft, Homeboys could have done it. Homeboys could have still executed it, but maybe they got overconfident.
We'll see on their confident level here as we head into the draft for game number 3. So we'll find out, what the plan is for them. Let's go head over to the draft.
So my big question now, Naisu, it's got to be, how's LaFell feeling, right? Because, man, Homeboys yesterday, he already almost got like a heart attack in the game.
Remember.
He almost threw against T2K.
Is that when the hat came out?
That was when the hat came out. Yeah, like they won, and LaFell was already shaking, his heart was going crazy. Now that Homeboys have dropped the game, they don't look invincible anymore, not in the wild card. E7.
Yeah. I don't know.
Adapt.
Guys,
I know, by the way, I think, shout out to LaFell, because I think he's watching alongside Trex as they're both on rest day today. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people came into this, though, Mirko, thinking it might be an easy sweep for Homeboys. Like, I think that was, for some people that might not even know Entity 7 very well, or let's say they missed part of the group stage leading up to this grand final. Some people might even be surprised, whoa, Entity 7 grand final gets Homeboys. And then they're like, wow, now it's a 1-to-1. This is a great thing, though, for Entity 7.
It is.
And just for, the region as a whole, because they're so competitive in their play style. And that's why I was saying before, man, the teams that like to play like this, they really shine on this current patch. Same bands look like they're coming out, Loyi, still the Chip, the Moskov. I think E7 might even still decide to ban out the Claude as their last ban for the first phase. They could still go that route, but so far I think it's interesting because it's still the same sides too. Homeboys is going to be on that blue.
3 games.
3 games.
And it's the same exact side, same exact bans for Homeboys. Maybe, again, though, it's just the execution that needs to be changed a bit. And also, maybe the draft order. That's going to be the Claude earlier this time. Not going to go for the Harith ban just yet. Probably go for the Harith ban as the last ban because Nets.
Yeah.
He is really, really good on the Harith as well. Now it's going to be the Bane ban, though, so the adjustment instantly by Homeboys, but they will have to leave open the Valentina. And I think that's a great option to go for, the Bane ban, because for the Valentina being left open, you can also pick it up for yourself.
Yeah.
Udil is an amazing player on the Valentina. You could definitely utilize that in the draft for Homeboys and in the game. That versatility that it adds towards Homeboys, if Udil does get his hands on it, would be really, really great. But I think for the Roger, you don't really want to change that much. It's still a great first pick. Because yes,
so
you
you
did
still
lose.
see them pick it up.
Yeah, if it doesn't. There's no way they leave it open, right? E7 will be very happy to go for it as well.
Yeah.
It's an amazing first pick. You may have not gotten the best of games on the Roger in game number 1 or 2, but they leave the Roger open. They go for the Valentina first, and this should be an Edith Roger, unless both teams say, you know what? Nah, that pick's overrated.
Nah.
I
Oh,
would
there
not.
it is.
They're
Okay.
like, yeah. We would, yeah.
Throwing me back to nah, I'd win. Right? That was Roger for a little bit before he lost in the jungle. So, you know, gets his first loss in the jungle. Still the percentage there that you guys see, of course, it's because he's flexed. And even with this, we don't want to say 100% just yet that he is going to be put in the jungle. Could possibly go in the hands of Fury here to go in the gold lane. But I think Homeboys wanting to change things up a little bit, locking in that Valentina, who has been banned for the most part, actually quite a bit throughout the entire wildcard stages, because Valentina is just that hero that provides a lot of uniqueness to a lineup, and then it also forces the enemy team to draft possibly in a different way, because you really have to consider what ultimates you might be giving up to that Valentina. So as we wait for this next 2 pick, wow, there it is. The Ling is finally going to come to play. So Ling is locked in. Ruby is there. Funny too that, you know, the game plan was the Ling, and so I think this also forced an Angela ban coming out from Entity 7 if they want to, right? Because technically you could still put that Angela in the mid lane, let the Ruby go roam. Or, no, sorry, the Valentina is there. So you could actually pick up, put Ruby. We've seen, okay, I'm not going to say this is crazy, but we could see Ruby in the gold, could see her in the XP.
Definitely.
And then Link could, or Angela could still be picked up for that lane.
Yeah, we've been seeing that a whole lot, you know, the Ruby going to the gold lane. That would be really cool as well to see, but for E7, now what is it going to be? Because the Yve was picked up earlier, but right as they pick up the Yve, they ban out the Ling. You don't really want to be on that stationary target when you're up against the Ling, and that's why they go for the Kufra first here. The Kufra, obviously, with the bouncing ball, able to stop some of these dashes, and this is extra value. This is value. Why is it 3 times? Because that's a Valentina, a Ruby, and a Ling.
That's great value.
That's great value. That's amazing value. 3 of the picks that Homeboys have gone for can all be countered by the bouncing ball. And for E7, if they are able to use the bouncing ball properly, then everybody will be locked down in the place for the Roger, for the Edith, to deal enough damage, and that's going to be the Minotaur ban as well. Great adjustment as they pick up the Kufra.
Yeah, great pickup there. We see here too, Chan is at 72,911 average damage. He's the highest of all the players for the wild card teams here, and which makes me think what mid lane pick he's going to go ahead and pick up to deal with this Valentina. Good read here too. The Lonox is going to be banned. That is actually one of Chan's signature picks that does come through. But right now, still deciding on what they want to ban out. They did take out the Minotaur.
Yes.
Good choice to deal with some of the crowd control, and I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if this is the case where you do possibly see Homeboys fit in Angela in this lineup, despite how things are falling into place. It could be what they need to deal with the setup potential from E7. The Kufra there alone is enough to be a threat. Like we said, it's value upon value to deal already with this lineup. Then you have an Edith. So the last ban was actually going to be an Akai. Interesting ban that they go this, that they ban up the Akai. When what were they thinking of? Akai going roam?
Yeah, I mean, game number 1, Zone was able to utilize the Akai as a roamer, so technically you definitely see what they're going for here. You definitely see the respect given over by E7 to Homeboys. But now, with the Lunox ban, we have seen this before. Same thing in game number 1. Homeboys started to nail down these mid laners, and in game number 1, after the Lunox, it was Lilia ban. I think they should be okay up against the Eve now with this kind of composition, and they should actually find a lot of value to go up against the Eve with Valentina stealing away the real world manipulation too. So Lilia should still be the ban for me particularly. No, they're going to go for the Xana. Adds a lot of sustain, adds a lot of peel and cover, CC for your team with that Eternal Guard and a good Terrify instant almost. And Xana, what do you think of that? Do you think it's a good ban? Because we haven't seen Chan on it much.
Yeah, we haven't seen Chan on it much. I think it's more so just dealing with the fact that they already have a ton of like knockups with a Kufra alone, so you don't want to deal with an Eternal Guard being dropped on your head. Yeah, it's a little too much, that wombo combo to deal with. They might be looking to force E7 to even pick up, like you said, the Lilia. Novaria is still available. You could go Farsa if you really wanted to. You should be okay even on the Farsa, dealing with the mobility from this Ling pick here. There's a lot left in the mid lane.
What?
That
was a synchronized what, bro?
Yeah.
Right as the Eudora gets picked up, E7. That's instant CC, instant burst. I get it up against the Ling. But also, I mean, technically, if you think about it, right, they already have DPS from the Edith. They already have lockdown, so you just need instant burst now.
So who's instant burst? One of the OG heroes.
Oh man, when was the last time we saw Eudora? Well, all Mincetar picked up as well, so it's going to be the Mincetar gold I'm feeling for Homeboys here. No Minotaur to combo it together, but they do have an I'm offended, so... What, the King's offended?
The King's offended.
Because yesterday LaFell said King's Fury.
Now
Because
it's
of the
King's
Minions Fury.
And the Grok.
King's offended charge?
King's offended charge. So wait, okay. Is this Mincetar, you think, Mincetar gold or XP?
I think it's got to be the Mincetar gold up against the Roger. I think they want to try to counter the Roger. That was the same way they did against T2K yesterday when they went for the Roger in the gold lane. So
what if the Roger goes jungle here?
That's the thing.
Me7?
That's why the flex pick is really good. I guess for the Mincetar, you still find value later on against the Roger. But yeah, in the lane, not so much. So I guess we'll see. What do you think?
Personally, I'd much rather see the Mincetar go gold because he can be a threat. Ruby, put her in the XP lane. Just deal with that for now. But okay, Dairoth. So this is going to be a Dairoth jungle, right?
This is going to be a Dairoth jungle.
Locked in. Very